You are now listening to Sentinel Soundbites.
So we are live. All right.
All right, and we are back with the Sentinel Soundbites podcast. Today we are joined by ASCTE Dean of Teacher and Student Learning, Dr. Rosemary Hodges, and School Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Chase Golden. You two have been together a lot lately, so I appreciate getting to rope you in and talk here for a second. Dr. Hodges, letting Chase tag along with you, we really appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to talk first, as I introduced you, the title Dean of Teacher and Student Learning. Educate us on what that is and what your role is here at the school.
So I think that's just a clever way of saying the Dean of Academics. So I thought President Massey just thought of a different type of way of lumping all of that together. So I am technically responsible for developing the curriculum and then also pulling all of the teachers in and forward-thinking with students and teachers. And so I thought he was just trying to think of a different way of pulling all of that together. So
I understand. And then Chase, CTO, a little more direct describe, but talk about kind of your role here at ASCTE, what you do. You probably wear a little different hat than most CTOs would, but kind of talk about your role here with us.
So in industry or government, typically a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, is going to be looking at the strategy, the growth opportunities for a company, and they're going to be implementing technology in a way that promotes that. That I do here as well, but there's also, you're talking about a school, the curriculum aspect, the classroom, technology integration piece. And then you've got, the focus of the school is to stay very relevant as far as concepts, right? So it's always kind of looking ahead, understanding the school strategy and how we can help achieve that vision and that mission.
Yeah, well, appreciate you guys kind of educating us on that. I want to talk a little bit for a second about your journeys to get here. Dr. Hodges, we'll start with you and let you just kind of talk about what led you here at ASCTE. Both of you have unique paths in winding up, so let you tell your story for a second.
Sure. So I've got over 30 years in education. So I started off as a classroom teacher, and so I've got background in history with Madison County schools and Huntsville City schools, and prior to coming to ASCTE, I was with Athens State University, and so worked my way up through the ranks from assistant professor to associate professor, and then full professor, and then interim dean in the College of Education. And so had the opportunity to work with President Massey on a number of levels. And so I heard about ASCTE as it was coming, as it was a spark in various conversations. And so I had the opportunity to interview for this position. And it was something that was unique and exciting to build something from the ground up. And so it's different when you have all of the knowledge and being able to take everything that you've learned in education and put it together and build something unique. And so to have the opportunity to know curriculum and teach curriculum, but to develop a curriculum and put it together and develop it so that it brings something to life was an opportunity of a lifetime. So that's what brought me to ASCTE, is to be part of something special.
Well, when you talk about, before we get to Mr. Golden, bringing it to life, one of the first stories I heard as an employee here was this record time that you were able to get the school accredited and going through that process. So
Yes.
kind of like, if you can give us just a brief overview of what that process was like from coming on board to taking us through the accreditation process in such a quick time.
Oh, wow. So, yes, I am. I love accreditation. Anybody who knows me knows that. I love data. I love, so one of the things that I used to do when I was at Athens State, I was into data, and I was SAC-COC chair and before I left. And so I had the opportunity to come over here, and then when they said they needed to do accreditation, that was right up my alley. And so after becoming familiar with Cognia and knowing what they required versus what I was already doing with SAC COC, it was seamless for me. And so I could lock myself in a room like I did, and I had a couple of people that was working with me, and we streamlined the process. And so after putting all of the information together, and everybody just kind of followed my lead. And so after gathering all the information and the interviews and the committees and that kind of thing, it was great for me. So I just got in my zone. And so parents trusted us to get this accredited after a meeting with the Cognia team. And so we did. We got it accredited in record time. So students were able to graduate the first class from an accredited high school. And that was my goal.
I had to get you on record saying that. I know you wouldn't brag about it yourself, so I know we're not here to talk accreditation, but wanted to get that there.
No, we were pretty pleased. But again, people always say that I did it, but there's no way I could have done it by myself. Everybody was part of it. So everybody had a hand in it. I was just fortunate enough to come in with a lot of knowledge, and everybody trusted me to follow my lead. So
I love it.
It was great.
All right, Mr. Golden, change gears now and let you educate us about yourself, your journey here, what drew you to ASCTE, and all those things.
Absolutely. So, I've got better than a decade in defense, whether active duty military, government contractor, or federal civilian. So I was actually working at the U.S. Army Space and Missile Defense Command. I was a cybersecurity advisor for space and missile defense systems. Really, the focus of that role was to look at the organization, how we were investing in cybersecurity, and how we could do that in a way that really enabled our core competencies, right? So if you wind back probably about 5 years, maybe 6 years ago, SMDC was looking at a talent pipeline program around internships. At the same time, this really cool concept called ASCTE was making a lot of buzz here in Huntsville. And so that's how I met the one and only Dr. Hodges, and I was hooked. So I'm a Tennessee Valley boy. I grew up here in Northeast Alabama in a rural school system. Never touched a computer in high school. It was a really, I think probably pretty standard of the Alabama public experience, right? And so when I saw that the state was investing in this concept that was going to be really transformative and an alternative model for public education, I was interested from the beginning. And so Dr. Hodges and I sat on a board together that ran this kind of internship pipeline program. We were one of the first federal partners for ASCTE, and so we started providing research opportunities and internship opportunities for ASCTE students. So then fast forward a few years, they needed a cyber guy, and I said, I get to work with Dr. Hodges, say no more. So here I am.
I love it. Package deal. We're glad to have both of you. I want to touch on what you briefly did is before we get into the subject of the matter here today. You talked about being from that Northeast small town. Talk about kind of what this school means to you. We've talked about this a lot off the air about the possibilities that it opens for maybe kids that don't have access to certain things. I know Senator Orr sit here with us on one episode and talked about the importance of that. What does that mean to you being from that type area?
Right. In short, it makes the world a difference. I think opportunities are all about exposure. It's all about seeing people from areas like you, seeing people that you relate to, having those opportunities, being able to see yourself maybe as a young adult or a child in those roles and doing those types of jobs. And so when you talk about the school, we fight this perception a lot that we're a Huntsville school because we're located here in Huntsville, but we're a state school. And so we do a lot of work, and I'm personally involved in a lot of that work to canvass the state, to do a lot of outreach and engagement with students, to build STEM capacity throughout the state, but also get those students in here and give them these opportunities. It's transformative. We've got kids that leave this place looking at opportunities in careers and education that their family has never had. And that's, if you talk about impact, it's hard to find a job that's got that kind of impact. And I think that's something everybody can rally around.
Transition from that to one thing that allows us to give that experience that you were talking about is that we write our own curriculum. We kind of control our own, we march to the beat of our own drum in a way. So Dr. Hodges, I'm going to let you more in detail describe what that means in being a school that gets to establish our own curriculum, and then we'll start picking through that as you go. But just kind of talk about an overview of what that means when a school can do that.
So sure. So when writing a curriculum or even writing books, what school systems normally do is they go through and they review books and they read things, and they bring teachers in to read what is already written. And they decide on this is the curriculum we want to adopt, these are the textbooks we want to adopt, and then they pass it out and say we're going to use these for the next 5 or 10 years, and that's the way we're going to go. And so we have textbook committees, and school systems have textbooks committees, and the state will send the information in, and then they adopt them. And so here, let me back up a minute. So when they're adopting them, those textbooks are written by experts, or they're written by other educators that are experts in the field. And so here at ASCTE, the difference between what is happening at the state level and here is that the experts are in the house. And so the cyber SMEs or the engineers that we would be looking at those books that are written are right here in the house. And so that is the great part about it. And so what we get a chance to do is that our engineers literally write the curriculum. They develop it, they write it, and then they execute it. And then they can go back and say, this worked and this didn't work, or we might need to modify it. It's the same at every level on every subject. And so the beauty part about that we have the expertise not only in the house, and we get to modify it, but we don't have to stick with it for 10 years. We don't have to stick with it for 5 years. We also get a chance to decide that we're going to turn the corner. Just like Chase said before, we are looking for the newest innovation. And so we don't have to wait before we bake in new information. So whatever industry needs, we get a chance to put it in our curriculum because we have the experts already in the house with us. And so they are developing the curriculum, and that was the forethought of having everybody here. So when you have master teachers, when you have industry experts, and you have higher ed in the house, and you bake it all together, this is the explosion. You have ASCTE, and you have the type of curriculum that is forward thinking. It is not something that is stagnant, that happens for 10 years at a time. It happens every 2 to 3 years. And so teachers get a chance to develop, they get a chance to change, they get a chance to pivot. And that is the most important thing when it comes to curriculum. It is not something that stays put.
Certainly. Well, I appreciate you explaining that. A line that we use a lot around here as we tour families around, as a tour is going on right now, is that we are the only school in the nation that is integrating cyber into the engineering life cycle. I want to break that down into pieces, and Mr. Golden, we're going to start with you, of when you say integrating cyber, what does that mean? Like, let's start from square one and explain that to someone that goes, well, what does that mean they're integrating cyber, and what exactly does that mean?
My favorite. So it's kind of funny that you mention it. This was actually a real key focus of my previous role as well. So this is really an existential industry question that the world and cybersecurity and engineering at large is trying to solve. For years, the model was to design, develop, test, evaluate field capability or technology, purely focusing on operational functionality and cost schedule. At the end, people would start to look at it and say, you know what, there's some risk inherent here to this design, or the way that this design may be used. We should look at mitigating that risk and implementing cybersecurity. That has shown limited results, is what I'll say, and the world's kind of waking up to that. So you can look at ASCTE as a philosophy, as kind of an economic development response or a workforce development response in regard to we are very sensitive to the needs of the workforce. I like to say we're where the rubber meets the road. So when I talk about or we talk about integrating cyber into the engineering lifecycle, we say, what is the engineering lifecycle? That is the driver and how we're going to develop technologies. Integrating cyber means that we're going to have cyber considerations that change with the phases of that life cycle. And so as you're doing concepts analysis, as you're doing tests, you're doing cyber tests, you're evaluating your cyber requirements, and then you're fielding technology that is long-term sustainable and resilient to cyber threat.
Well, question for both of you, and Dr. Hodges, you can lead off with this. In talking about that curriculum and having those people in-house that you referred to, also speak to the importance of we have educational partners through this school and being in contact with those in industry as we're talking about what's going on in our career. Is that something that you guys take into account and you're getting feedback from those partners as well? And talk about kind of how that plays into the process.
So that's one of the most important parts. So we have an advisory council that is made of some of our partners that we sit down with at least twice a year. And so Chase and I both sit down with these partners. He goes to DC. I always encourage him, go to DC, find out what's happening. And so we get a chance to sit down with our governmental partners, our private partners that are on the forefront of what's happening or what they're developing. And so they tell us what they need, what their needs are. And so that way we can find out what we need to develop into our curriculum. And so, Chase, what was it that we were doing that in our past conversation we just baked in one of the programs that through our conversations with our in our last
yeah, that's a great example. So we had an advisory council meeting, and a big concept that's emerging inside of the workforce is digital engineering, right? How are you going to completely represent a system and all of its requirements throughout that life cycle digitally? There's a lot of things that go on inside that I won't delve into here, and it means a lot of different things to some people. But kind of a subcomponent of that is models-based systems engineering, right? It's a framework or a concept, I'd say, for approaching design, test, requirements, evaluation, things like that. And so through those conversations, we were able to actually work out a partnership. Our instructors were able to go get training in models-based systems engineering, and that's something that we offer. So our students are exposed to it. They come out ready to have conversations about what they've learned in models-based systems engineering, and there's a big workforce need there. People are hiring like crazy for that. So that's an example of we're very small, we're very agile, we're very quick to respond and adapt to needs, and that's really how that fleshes out in reality.
That's a word I hear you guys say, the word agile, a lot. I think that's I've been in a lot of different schools and you don't hear that word mentioned a lot. Use that leaning back on your past coming through the traditional education, how different that is than what most are experiencing.
I think it's so important, and it makes me really proud that we're agile like that, because it when I say it makes me proud, it's the fact that we can turn a corner when we know something is not working. The fact that we can look at something and we can test it, and we can test it for 6 months, we can test it for a term and say, nope, that's not going to work. We're not going to put that back in there. It makes so much sense. And unfortunately, my education partners, when I say education partners from the systems that I've come from, can't do that. Higher ed can't do that. And so the fact that we can literally test something and then say, it's not working, pull it out and start again, makes so much sense. And everybody can't do it. And so back to what Chase was saying, when we have a meeting with our advisory council and they give us a suggestion on something that is needed immediately, and we can go in within a month or two and bake it in and come out with something, it makes so much difference. We have students that are coming out with certifications within 6 months to a year of them saying something to us. So that is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And when it takes normally, by the time other entities, other school systems are able to do it, it's something else that they need by that time.
I want to, this is a little off, but I want to ask you this while we got you, Dr. Hodges. One thing that on the academic side, sometimes in these tours you hear people ask about, we offer our own grading system, this curriculum. How does that translate to college? Well, you came from higher education, and what would you say to those that may have that question of, oh, we're going and getting this unique education, you're writing your own curriculum. Well, how's that going to translate to me going to XYZ school, whatever it is?
I can tell you this, we have not had a problem with that at all. We've got kids that have headed off to Ivy Leagues. So we've got kids that were accepted and are attending the Harvards and Vanderbilts and the Georgia Techs, and our local schools, our A&Ms and our UAHs, as well as our Alabamas and Auburns. It translates with them being accepted at high rates, and it translates with them being accepted not at high rates, but also with full scholarships. And so I think our curriculum speaks for itself.
Money talks.
It does, every day, every day.
I love it. Well, kind of on the curriculum base, and Mr. Golden, you have a whole separate layer of things that we'll take a whole other episode to talk about, but we take a little of what we do in our building, and we've talked about it here, and we actually take it out and we serve through Excel that you work with. Talk about just that, not necessarily getting too much into the Excel side. We'll save that for another conversation, but getting to take what we're doing here out into other school districts, outside of our hallways, and share it with other people.
So it's a really cool opportunity. That's also, I want to mention, it's a legislative mandate that the school has. So Excel, the Advancing Cyber Concepts and Engineering Learning Program, is how we execute that legislative mandate that says we're going to help the state build STEM capacity. And you heard me mention STEM capacity building earlier. So what does that mean, right? It means, myself, some of our instructors, we're loading up in a van, we're bringing some equipment, we're bringing some activities, and we're coming to your school on site, and we're spending the day with you. We invite teachers to attend these STEM labs, is what we call them. We typically do cybersecurity day and an engineering day. Those are kind of blanket concepts for different things that we do. So there may be radio engineering, there may be an AI day in that, but we bring the equipment, we spend the day with your students, and we do a lot of activities that are conceptual and designed to kind of garner interest, right? We're typically targeting the middle school age. That's when students are kind of self-selecting a lot of the time, whether or not they see themselves in certain career fields or certain areas of study. We're inviting their teachers to attend so that they can learn from us, and we're leaving that equipment behind with the classroom so that they can build on that programming and do extension activities should they like to.
Yeah, I appreciate you touching on that. Just I think it's interesting that we're able to take what we're doing here and what Dr. Hodges talked about, what happens in our building, and then go take it out. So circle back to the curriculum side. What, Dr. Hodges, speak to us a little on kind of what currently is if you're a prospective family and you're watching this and going, well, what's my kid going to be getting if he's right now? Like, what is kind of in the scope of your focus of the curriculum side currently, without sharing too much of the secret sauce? We don't want to put our secrets out to the world, but just something you can share of that's really on the curriculum side, really a focus of yours right now.
So I think the overarching focus right now is what Chase was talking about, the integration of cyber protections in the engineering life cycle. And the reason I say that is we're always just that's really the secret sauce, period, overarching, because that is baked into everything that we do. And so it's not just in the engineering classes and in the cyber classes, but it's also in our language classes. It's also in our social science classes. But the thing that students leave here knowing is that it's not just you majoring in engineering and in cyber, that you know that this is where the world is today. And so it's in banking, it's in the protections when it comes to hospitalization. How do you keep your hospital records? How do you keep education? You hear about the records being hacked on the education level. And so it is not about just keeping engineers or just the cyber protections. Cyber touches every facet of life. And so we need to keep protections everywhere. And so it's even at the fast food restaurants. It's every time we take a money card, every time we swipe something, that's a cyber protection. And so when we go shopping, that's cyber protection. And so it touches every part of life. And so we want our students to leave here knowing how to protect everything. So it's not just about one little piece of life, it's everything that we do. We had a student leave here and decide, I can speak the language of engineering. I love cyber, but I don't think I want to be in a dark room just by myself. No, this student actually majored in human resources so that they could be a headhunter for engineering and cyber companies, so that they could go out and talk to other people that want to be true engineers and true cyber folks and bring them into companies. So this type of training here at this school puts you in every area.
It does do that, and we are thankful for that and appreciate the work that you guys do to make that happen. I know both of you are hard at work, constantly partnerships, curriculum. You're wearing a bunch of different hats, so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about what all you're doing and how you've brought this project to life. And want to talk about, Chase, loop you back in one more time, kind of what you see as some potential future things. Like what, obviously some buzzwords in cyber now. We could go on and on, whether it's AI or whether it's whatever it may be, but kind of talk about some things that you personally might see coming on the forefront.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on right now. We're a technology society, and the cool and crazy thing about tech is it's just always changing. You got NVIDIA put out something not too long ago that they think we are now surpassing and invalidating Moore's law. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but it's kind of the rate at which we develop microprocessors, and I don't know, I'm gonna butcher it, but we'll get back to it later. I am really big focused on, I think quantum's gonna be the next big thing. Quantum's got a lot of implications, could potentially invalidate a lot of the cryptography schemes that we currently rely on. It's gonna change, I think, applications to how we develop, model, do probabilities, statistical analysis. There's so much impact there, and no one is really touching it yet at an academic standpoint. I'm sure that there are some great theory level college classes that you can get to. I really want to bring it down to something we can apply here at the secondary level, and so I'd say that's something to keep an eye out for from us.
Love it.
Well, except ASCTE, except we have a partnership with Davidson.
That's
with
right.
Quantum computing.
I wasn't gonna give that one out yet.
Yeah, I think we're there already.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
There we go. So, Mr. Golden, you just mentioned the word quantum, and I want you to kind of educate me. Talk to me like I'm 5 here on what that means exactly. You hear that word starting to buzz around a little, but just give us a brief synopsis on what that word means exactly.
Gotcha. So everyday life that we observe corresponds to the laws of classical physics. And so according to that, your computer, your laptop is a classical computer is what we're calling those. What they've found is that when you look at or you observe the micro and the macro level, there's a whole different set of rules that they call quantum physics that matter typically corresponds to. The big differentiator between the two for the purposes of this discussion would be that matter typically, when referring to classical, exists in one state or the other, but one state at a time. Quantum computing introduces this idea of superposition, existing in 2 states at the same time. So a quantum computer, through the use of superconductors, can put matter, energy, light into a quantum state. It can induce a quantum state and thereby create a quantum computer. So that's got a lot of philosophical and application implications for cybersecurity technology in general. And so we are looking at introducing those concepts here as we constantly analyze, we're teaching physics, we're teaching cyber, we're at the perfect intersection of these different disciplines to be on the forefront of technology.
Well, I'm sure there is a prospective family or student or partner or someone that is listening to that means a lot to.
Someone in the crowd's going to just send me all kinds of hate mail for butchering that. But
I appreciate you sharing that with us. All right, Mr. Golden, another thing, you wear a lot of hats here, as we alluded to, and one of those being Excel. The other is you've brought to life a new project here, the Cyber Range, and we've had some recent announcements to go with that. So I'm going to let you talk about what the Cyber Range is, some kind of new developments we have with us, and educate us with what you have going on there.
Right. So the Cyber Range and Cyber Ranges in general are just cyber training platforms. It's a safe environment where students can practice applied cybersecurity skills. So here at the ASCTE, we're so clever, so industrious, we developed our own Cyber Range in-house. And we recently partnered with the Tennessee Valley Authority. They've sponsored the Cyber Range, and we're looking at expanding that capability and that platform to K-12 organizations throughout the state. So here, in the near future, we will be rolling out the state's cyber training platform called the Alabama Cyber Range. That's going to be a reflection of what our students are training on, and it's going to be available to those organizations, those schools throughout the state, free of cost.
All right, Dr. Hodges, in this curriculum, obviously these kids are getting a lot in theory in our halls every day, but one thing that's unique about us is we send them out their senior years and they get to take what they got in theory and go put it into practice in their internships. Touch on a little bit the impact our students are getting to make in workforce needs, in the labor programs around, because we do get to send them out and go make a difference more than just in their classrooms.
Absolutely. So which is a great part of the curriculum. So they get everything in 3 years. And so they come in and we bake everything in 3 years. They are in terms. And so their senior year, like you said, is full of internship. And so they are sent out to partners and our educational partners, and they complete a full year of internship. And some of those internships are with governmental partners such as DEFCON, or they will be sent out to some of our private agencies such as RTX or Trinium or Davidson, as I said earlier when we were talking about the quantum computing, or it might be TVA, which is one of our newer partners. And so they actually get a chance to, these are not internships where they are literally just getting coffee. They are actually working. And so they get a chance to take all of that information they learned here in the 3 years, and they are getting practical hands-on experience. And so some of those internships are project-based, and so some of them are with Deloitte, and they are actually getting a chance to meet different individuals that are giving them further information, further instructions. And some of them, if they're not project-based, they are a lot of hands-on, actual going to work, Redstone Federal Credit Union. And so it's everywhere. They are placed in situations where when they come in the morning, they have breakfast and they have a briefing, and then they are headed off to work. And so we're excited for them.
Yeah, it's fun. I know you also have a team of intern supervisors and that come from outside in industry and meet with them. Talk about kind of what their roles are, what they're providing. Sure. As they are going to work and then they come back to school and you're putting something else in front of them.
I do. And so we don't just send them out. So they're still attached back to ASCTE. And so I do have a team of professionals that go out and meet with them weekly. And so they are our internship supervisors, and some of them are engineers, some of them are cyber SMEs, some of them are educators that were former administrators. And so they get a chance to go out and meet with the students. These are professionals that meet with not only the supervisors of the students that are in the field, but they keep tabs on them and meet with them to make sure that they are comfortable in the field, make sure that they are being evaluated, and they evaluate them. And so it's a whole process. And it gives them a real work experience, knowing how they're being evaluated. They know that they get a chance to evaluate their own supervisor that is in field. And then they come back and get a debrief at the end of the day. And so it's a real world experience.
What else could you ask for? I mean, that's
and they learn very quickly. Yes, it's not. I'm not sure if they really asked for all of it. I don't know if they thought it was going to be that intense. So, but I'm pretty proud of all of them because they go out there and they go to work, and we even have higher ed partners so that the students are attached to their IT departments. So they are learning how to do the ticket systems and learning how to really troubleshoot a lot of things.
Well, I want to visit one more thing on that I love that we do, and it's part of our curriculum. Before these kids do that, we've trained them on how to do that. They're going through field experience classes, and they're learning how to shake someone's hand and greet them, how to sit in a meeting, how to talk a little bit about that program and the importance of it, and some things that our kids get that they have to go through here.
Yes. So we have Field 1, where our partners actually come in and meet the students. So they have classes, Field 1, Field 2, Field 3. And so in Field 1, we actually invite partners in where our students get a chance to meet our educational partners. And so, and in that class, those students do various things as you said, they learn how to shake hands, look someone in the eye. They practice all of those things. They understand what our educational partners are looking for. They start to understand what an engineer does, understand what cyber is all about. In our Field 2 class, students literally go into the field. And so they have weekly trips to different partners, and they go they'll go a month long over to DEFCON and see the different areas what happens on Redstone Arsenal. They get a chance to see NASA. So they get a chance to go over to COSA and get a chance to see what happens in COSA. Sometimes one of our agency partners that may not have a big presence, they will have a board meeting with those students. And so they get a chance to really get a feel of what's happening and what those agencies needs. In Field 3, those students are assigned a mentor. So they build out their professional portfolio. And so they have weekly meetings with their mentor. And so it builds up to their internship. And so we've tried to check every box that is needed prior to internship. And so students have a full gamut of what is needed and what the responsibilities that we place on them. We want to make sure that they're ready before they go into the field.
All right, and Dr. Hodges, with those partnerships, obviously our students are receiving a large benefit to be able to go out into industry and to work. What would you say that those industry partners are receiving as a benefit? Obviously, get past getting student interns, student workers, what's the benefit for them in being a partner with us and receiving our students?
So ASCTE was stood up to backfill all of those openings for the missing cyber and engineers. And so they get a chance to get the best and the brightest. And so when we put them out, it's almost like on-the-job training, and it's an interview from the very beginning. And we tell the students this all the time. When you go out, you are being interviewed. And so we get a chance to fill that pipeline, as Chase talked about earlier too. We're filling the pipeline because it's so many needs. We need so many more engineers. We need so many more cyber professionals. And so these partners of ours get a chance to fill in those missing people. And so they get a chance to, we train them, they get to get them. And so we have found that a lot of our partners are hiring our students right when they finish. Our students are going off to college, but they are also going off to college with a job.
So that's a question I get asked a lot about our school is where do your kids go? Do they go to college? Do they go to work? So you just kind of answered that, but speak to that a little more, what you mean. These schools or these companies are actually hiring our kids and then saying go to work.
Yes, and so these are unintended great consequences that we have found. So we ended up having to develop a transition team because we are having students to, once they finish their internship, those agencies are hiring them. And so, of course, parents want them to go to college. And so, again, they're sending them off to college, but instead of actually having to work at McDonald's or being a barista or working at Walmart or Target, these students are working virtually for the agencies that they did their internships at. Or if they're going to school locally, they're actually working their 20 hours at the agencies that we assigned them to when they were doing their internships. So the agencies are actually holding on to them, and that's where their summer works are. That's where their part-time work. And so we're pretty excited about them. SAIC was a big holdover for students. Trinium was a big holdover for students, and so they are actually hiring those students and offering them positions. And so, and that's great for us. It's great for North Alabama. It's great for Alabama, period, sure, because it's pulling the students right back to Alabama, and it's definitely pulling them back to North Alabama.
Because you're talking about students who may be attending out-of-state schools are still
Absolutely.
able to contribute to our state here.
Absolutely. So it's not a brain drain. So we're pulling them, and we're putting them right back here. And so nobody's leaving. If they're leaving, they're just going to visit another state where they're coming back home.
There you go.
So we're excited about that. So companies are benefiting, and that's exactly what we wanted them to do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with us today and educate us on what's going on. We'll let you get back to your work because, as you talked about, we have to stay agile, and you can't do that if you're sitting here talking to me. So
I cannot.
The dean's job never ends.
Never ends.
We appreciate your guys' time and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are live. All right.